Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.TV. I'm Coach Prasick as we ring in the new year, 2023. And we are privileged to have Ben Cooper visit us once a month. And I must say, Ben, that you are starting this new year off. You know, everybody says they're going to have a good year. You're having a good year. But that didn't start on January 1 of this year, did it?
No, there's a little behind work, some deadlines to start off, and so a lot of news for 2023. There's no moss growing on. My hair might get shorter, but there's no moss growing on this rock. It keeps rolling and keep finding new things. Unfortunately, you got to cut back on some of the old things and make room for new things. So,
now, last year you attended some kind of certification thingy. When you mentioned honey and you had to go for certification, I thought, well, you should be teaching, not being taught. But I guess you had to learn something. But that's going to pay off in the next few days.
Well, not really off. It's just a working vacation that pays my bills but I leave tomorrow to go to Harrisburg. Oddly enough, Pennsylvania has their state farm show fair this time of year. Last year there was 8 inches of snow the evening I arrived. 8 inches of snow kind of slows things down, but that's typical for Pennsylvania Farm Show. But I was asked last year to fill in and judge honey, and they asked, it's one of those things, there's a lot of jobs in the churches and other volunteer things that I think they get the hint from the Supreme Court. Once you get in, you're there for life until you can't physically do it anymore. And so some of those people couldn't do it anymore. In fact, one guy passed away, and so they needed somebody. And I said, you know what? I think it would be nice and fun. I did take a training this past year, but Pennsylvania doesn't require certified trainers. The state of Maryland does. And teaching beekeeping is one thing. Exhibiting is a whole new realm, a whole new level. So I would think and liken it, Coach, as teaching Pee Wee League versus college or the professionals. If you're a coach, you still need some skills, but it's not to the degree, and it's a whole new set of parameters. And so last year, what I did was for the whole day of judging, I took moisture content of all the honey samples of the liquid honey, and so there was over roughly about 250 jars of honey. And I was just taking the measurements because it has to fit within a parameter. It can't be too liquidy. That means water. It can't be too thick because that means somebody has cooked it down to try to make it. And there's people that do that and all kinds of things. But we had less than they normally have because people were still getting out of COVID mentality. And so hopefully we'll have more, but I won't get back until sometime Saturday.
So how do you measure the viscosity of honey? Was there an instrument that does that?
There's several different instruments that do that. We don't necessarily measure the viscosity. We measure the moisture content. Bees naturally make honey and cap it off at 16% moisture. Bees are mathletes. They know math. They know percentages. They know distances. They know time. They know all this stuff. So if it's over 18%, it's too watery. That means it wasn't capped off, and people are spinning out honeycomb that hasn't been capped. Okay. And so you don't want to get true honey. It needs to be capped and then uncapped and spun out. If it's too runny, people will actually put it in a room with a dehumidifier and suck the moisture out of it too much, and then it becomes too thick. So the window of opportunity, 16% is ideal. Anything below 14% is too thick, and anything below or above 18% is starting to get too watery.
Syrupy. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. JD in the chat
so
room says then it becomes syrup.
yeah, and so everybody likes to take a jar of honey and turn it upside down and watch the slow air bubble go up to the top.
Hmm.
And in honey judging at our local fair, there's always somebody that does it every year, even before the judging. And I said, now you might have just docked that person because the judge will take the lid off, look at the lid to make sure there's no honey spots on it because it
Hmm.
was tipped.
Ah,
Plus, they put fingerprints on the jar, and that takes away from it. And so it's most some honey judges will use white gloves and do everything and handle everything. It was funny because they have baked goods, they have so much stuff, and there was a sealed, locked cabinet that was full of mead. Do you know what mead is?
no.
That's honey wine.
I was going to say, let me guess, it's fermented honey.
It's fermented, and there's a category for that. And so it's bottled, the presentation of the bottle. And these two people came in, a man and a woman came in, very well dressed, and they sat at a small little table. And for the afternoon in judging, they were testing all the bottles of mead. And I went to them afterwards and said, I know which one got a blue ribbon before they even placed a ribbon. And they said, well, how do you know that? I said, it's the one that has most of the contents emptied.
Uh,
They spent more time tasting that one. And then I said, I hope you're not driving too far tonight. No, we got a hotel. We're just going to be staying overnight here. But that's part of the people that have to eat all the baked goods or at least taste them. Um, the first half hour is fun. Then everything starts to get too sweet and it's all honey. And so one of the benefits is if they find something really good, then they'll say, "Hey, try this. This is really good." And but it's a fun activity working with extension people and experts in the field, and it's a good camaraderie together. And we've got 2 days where the public even is involved, and it's just a nice thing to do.
well, before we move on to your writing quests, my wife and I have been fighting off a little bout with cold, and she got this advice off of Instagram or somewhere like that for some sort of tonic or potion. So she sent me to the store to get what she called raw honey. I said, "What is raw honey? I mean, there's honey, right?" Well, apparently not. Apparently, there's a thing about raw honey, so I didn't know what that was, but I can't think of anybody better to ask than you.
Raw honey is unheated and it's now what I sell is raw honey that I cut the caps off of the honeycomb, spin it out, and run it through a strainer or a filter. It's there. If you go to the supermarket, that honey's been pasteurized pretty much. It's been heated, and you lose a lot of the antioxidants in honey when it's not when it's heated, when it's
Okay.
not in that raw form. So heating honey allows it to go through a smaller microfilm filter because the John Q. public wants to see perfect honey, not one little speck in it. My honey, you might get a little speck of a piece of wax or something in it,
Mhm.
but I run it through two different size filters, and there the difference basically is heated versus unheated.
Okay.
Pressurized because it goes through a pressure screen, and people want, and then if you go to the store, the honey is all the same color.
Okay.
If you buy it from me, it depends on what time of year. The color is determined by the bloom source. The flower determines the flavor and the color. So I like artisan honey. I render it out throughout the year so I get the different flavors,
I
and
get
people
it.
like it.
Well, Ben, I bet you'll be doing this for life, as you said. So I hope that you enjoy it. I had no idea that it was that technical. I mean, honey, I'm just not a connoisseur of honey. But apparently, the people take this very, very seriously, and the stakes are so high, because you got to get that blue ribbon. Um, the facility you said was 13. How many? How big? I mean, this sounds
13
like.
acres inside,
I mean, literally indoors.
indoors.
It's not a
It's
pole
a
barn, but
This is buildings attached to buildings attached to buildings, and right across the street basically is the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture on the same main drag, and a lot of the parking is at a community college, or it used to be a community college for this. But they literally, I would guess, for a week, they probably get about 10,000 visitors a day if the weather is good.
well, the weather won't be good. It's Pennsylvania. It's January. Anyway,
Well, it's warmer right now. It's in the 50s. I'm looking right. It's above 50 degrees now in January,
really,
which is uncommon for us.
yeah, it's 69 degrees here. But anyway, Ben, you have been given quite a you've been kind of thrown and cast into the spotlight. I have a graphic behind me that alludes to what you're going to tell us about because you're in the big time now.
I don't know if it's big time. Um, I was asked to write a monthly column for an author magazine that's online, starting to move and get momentum. 2023 that um, wants to try to build momentum. So she asked if I would write a regular column every month, and I said no, but I might try bi-monthly, every other month. And so she said, can you write something starting January? And so now I have another deadline to in this retirement age that I don't want to have deadlines, but it comes with the territory. And since it's the magazine's called Pittsburgh Press, there used to be a newspaper that was called Pittsburgh Press. She dropped the H off of the Pittsburgh, so you don't have any competition or some lawyer saying you stole our name. But
There's
it's
a
a good
concept
quality.
called deceptively similar.
Similar, but I kind of picked up on that as well as a Pennsylvania resident. This is coming from Pennsylvania, but it focuses on writers, authors, and people in the trade. And so I come up with this idea of if you got a column, you got to have a name for it, and pen for Pennsylvania, but pencil points, writing tips. And so in that image that I created has the writing tips with pencils, and that's my creativity to come up with that. And so January, just 2 days ago, it launched. Sunday it launched, and um, hoping to do a lot. And I will say, I don't know if Jacqueline was going to try to listen in. She might be, but I really like the barter system. I said I don't want paid, but I would like to have free advertisement for an event that's coming up in October that might need some people as a feeder to a conference, a workshop kind of thing. And she said, that's perfect. She doesn't have to pay me. And I'm willing to see how far I can go with every other month. And I would say that what's that when you go to a concert, that band that plays before the real
Right, the warm up, the
name,
whatever. Yeah.
warm up or whatever. Because there's a Pulitzer Prize winner on the cover of the magazine for January. Um, but I think number of pages, I think she gave me more pages than what he has. And so there's um, it's good quality graphics. It's basically a relatively new magazine that she's working on, and she's had I think it started in September of last year. And so it's building some momentum. If there's authors that are listening, she's always looking for people to do content with. And so they snuck me in there with some best-selling authors that are normally on there and some other stuff. So, I didn't ask for any of this stuff. It kind of just what's JD calls God winks kind of things or God things. I think he calls them. Some call them God winks. So another job, another thing for me to do is writing some uh, writing tips that have helped me, and hopefully that'll help others and inspire others.
Catherine Paysauer nailed it in the chat room, the opening act.
There you go.
Yeah,
You can
I
tell
knew
how
that.
many concerts. Yeah, you can tell how
Well,
many
I've been
concerts
to,
I.
I've been to many concerts. I just don't remember that much about them. Is the problem? the
Most of the time, you don't go for the opening act.
uh, No comment. Well, moving on. Ben, you're the busiest retired person I know, and I don't mean just in your beekeeping, but you're are you still preaching on Wednesday nights?
No, but I did do Christmas Eve service. Was asked to do Sunday Eve service just today, a few hours ago, and I said I don't think after being away from home for 4 days, and I won't have time to work on a message while I'm there because tomorrow we'll be setting up the tables and stuff for the displays. Then everybody brings their stuff in on Thursday, and then Friday it's a full day of judging and making sure everything is done right. And then Saturday is open to the public. So I'm going to be busy, tired, and um, I'm learning to say no. Just like I didn't want to write every month; that was too much. But I'll try it bi-monthly to write a column. So uh, I'm stretching, but trying to understand what my limits are as well.
Well, and not only it's a recipe for burnout for one thing, and there's a tendency when you say yes to everything, you get overcommitted and you wind up doing a you wind up disappointing people, it's just a recipe for burnout. It's not a good, but I find it hard to say no. I just keep doubling down. I mean, I was still working at 7 o'clock this morning, thinking I was trying to reach a stopping point, but that stopping point kept eluding me. But that's my world. Welcome to it. Ben, anything you are looking forward to in 2023? Any goals that you've set or words that you've received or whatever? What's the new year
I
look like for
tried the
you?
word thing once and it just didn't fit with me. It's
Yeah.
just, um, to me, it's don't sit on my laurels of what I did in 2022. Just keep that bar high and keep going. And when God drops some things in my life, then I have to adjust that. I've had some good conversations with my Caribbean son over the last uh, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the future he might be dragging me out to go search down some of the missionaries out in other countries. So I might have to get my passport renewed
Yes.
and be ready to go. But I don't want to be overcommitted to where when God drops something in my lap that I have to say no to him because I'm so committed to everybody else. So,
Well, and you
uh,
deny others the opportunity. When you take everything, let some of the younger people have a shot at it under our watch care, of course. We've got another minute. I know that you've got one thing you're doing in 2023 that you've never done before, and that's a
yep,
summit.
yep. And I just posted the registration form on my um, Christian Writers Summit at Jamonville Facebook page. The price is extremely low for meals, lodging, and the conference, $175. And I'm hoping to get at least 50 people. I have room for 108. And I can probably expand that to even more because there's other buildings and other places to stay there. But um, anybody have questions about the Christian Writers uh, Summit, I would like somewhere between now and I'll see if my keynote speaker would come on with me as a guest here on PJNet, Tamara Jackson, and she goes by the name of coach as well, but a writing, marketing, and creative type person. She's a gem, and if you meet her, I'm sure you'll fall in love with her. But I'd like to maybe have her come on. But that's a big thing, and just ask for your prayers for that to go off well.
That'll be in November, I believe.
October
October.
27 and 28. Yep.
Ben, you're amazing. I know it's scary, but you just when God puts something on your heart, you just throw your heart out there, and the rest of you will follow. Is how I think of it. Sometimes you have to just close your eyes and say, "Yes, Lord," take the step and take the plunge. But well, Ben, gosh, I hope that you have time to visit us again next month. But because
I should.
you're too busy. but we appreciate you sharing with us, Ben, and I'm always grateful for your friendship, your brotherhood, and your helping us out here on pjnet.tv, blessing us with all the things that God is doing in your life, because God is working in every Christian life. And Ben, you are a walking testimony of that fact, and we sure do appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Coach.
All right. Ben Cooper here on pjnet.tv. Yeah, I've still got his name on the screen in white. It's white on white. You can't tell. Well, my goodness, what a year it's going to be if everybody can just do like Ben. Be like Ben, okay? Big Ben, we call him. Go learn how to make honey. He's very honest though. He said, "I don't make the honey. The bees make the honey. I just steal it." That's what he told me. All right. Well, in just a few minutes, we're going to have Del Didway. I think everybody is aware of what happened on Monday Night Football last night, but not many of you were there. Pretty sure none of you were. Well, Del was, and he's going to share with us and how good things can come out of tragedies, and can't wait for that. While we're waiting on him, or while I'm doing some stuff getting ready for him, you do this. Ready? Ask yourself 2 questions. And answer yourself honestly. Okay? Here's the first question. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Second question. How long ago was it when you did that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.